everybody, it's Emily with Discover Fort Smith podcast, and I'm up here on the 7th floor of 524 Garrison Avenue, which is where our new visitor center is, down on the first floor. And this is a beautiful shared space that we have here, and we thought it'd be a great place to film the podcast. So today I'm here with Brandon Goldsmith. He's the what would you say your official title is, Brandon?
So I am the executive director of the Fort Smith International Film Festival, and I'm the CEO of the Mid-America Film Market.
Let's dive in. Let's dive in. So every year you put on this film festival right here in Fort Smith. It is a big generator of revenue for the city of Fort Smith. Saw the recent article that came out where Ashley kind of talked about that and how it brings people in and feeds into our economy. But I'm really curious to know, how did you come up with the idea? Has your background always been in film? Tell me.
Oh man.
I'm curious.
So if you want to go down to my background in film, so I was one of those kids who in high school would convince the teacher to let me make a video instead of writing a paper. So me and my group of friends that I started with in high school. So this is like 1990. Yes.
You just aged yourself.
I'm dating myself right here. And then in 97, so we graduated high school in 93. In 97, they all went to Austin Film School. I started my first film company in Austin, Texas in 1997.
Another Austin buddy here. Love it.
And so my love of film, kind of spans, all the way back there. And then I came to Fort Smith and I was working on a documentary. And I realized that my camera operator and the sound guy I was talking to didn't know who each other were, and they live in the same town. And so I was like, let's create something where we can start bringing these people together because I need to build a crew. So it was selfish of me, very selfish.
But it had a bigger purpose too.
Yeah. So I created the River Valley Film Society as a way to start bringing in and finding out who all the filmmakers were in this region. And
when you say region, can you define that for people?
Well, I mean, when I think of the River Valley, I mean, it's, not only what a lot of people think of like here, Fort Smith, Alma, Greenwood, but I also work across the river, so I see the River Valley is as the whole encompassing region, right?
Yeah.
Because especially when it comes to filmmaking, if I were just focus on what we had here in Fort Smith, I would never find enough people. So, I had to expand my reach. And then what we were doing is I was getting filmmakers in and we were showcasing them. So we were kind of showing their films off once a month. I'd pick a filmmaker, they'd come in, talk about their films, we'd show it. And then January of 2020, because everyone loves to talk about, the pandemic. Actually, the pandemic was helpful for us. So in January of 2020, we showed Clay Pruitt's The 24, and over 340 people showed up to that screening.
Wow. Where was that at?
We did that at the bakery.
Okay.
In the collection room there. And we kind of looked at each other and we said, maybe Fort Smith is ready to have a film festival. And so then the world shut down. But what that allowed us to do is that allowed me to get all my ducks in a row, create a nonprofit. So I took that time and created a 501c3. And so by that summer, I had all the things in place. I had my board together, and luckily, Mayor McGill, he jumped right on board from the very beginning. He's been on the board. And then we also had the Mayor Kinslow from Greenwood. And then we had John McIntosh, who did the Unexpected. He came on. I had Stacy Jones, who did Season of Entertainment. So I, had the two big people between Stacy Jones and John McIntosh who had basically kind of done the biggest things in terms of entertainment in Fort Smith throughout the years, and they came on to help me make this happen. And so in that summer, we launched and we said, okay, next year we're going to put on our first film festival. And so that's kind of how the film festival came together.
So that was 2021.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we launched it in summer of 2020, and we did the first film festival in 21.
And how have you, so now we're 2025,
Mm-hmm.
you're having it in August of 2025,
Yes.
right? How have you seen the film festival kind of grow and change and morph over the past 4 years or 3 years, I guess?
It's exploded on us.
Yeah.
It's in a great way. So film festival itself, when it happened, so our first year that we did it all across Fort Smith. So we showed films at the Bakery, at 5 Star, at Majestic, and at 906. So we had 4 venues across Fort Smith. What I found out that first year, so what I say is every year I learned. We realize it's summer. People don't want to walk from venue to venue in the middle of August. So the festival itself, that's kind of like in terms, and now we're moving to the conventions for this year. But where it has grown is instead of just doing the film festival, we do stuff throughout the year now. So we have year-long programming. So like we have these, we do foodie films. So like we'll have some more coming up later, but then our next one that we got coming up is going to be Shrek 2.
Oh, over at the Bakery District.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You did Ratatouille.
Yeah, we did Ratatouille.
And you have a meal.
And then we've also done Home Alone. They did 7 courses with that one. It's just so what
it's
is
a lot of cheese pizza.
Yeah. What's great about that is like they follow the film. So all the meals are made for different parts of the film. And then what we did is we partnered with. So what I do is we do a lot of partners.
Mm-hmm.
So we partnered with Future School because they have the year-long kind of movies to allow us to kind of show movies. And so in doing that, you can come and watch the movie for free. And so we try to do certain partnerships and stuff like that to have our year-long programming and show films. We also do workshops. So we're about to have a horror film workshop, so you can be a horror screenwriter.
I love horror movies. I do.
And that's one of the bigger formats that kind of happen in this area are horror films. And so we'll probably have a horror film night here. I try to do one at least once a year before the film festival. And so we try to do a lot of programming, not only workshops to kind of help out other filmmakers. We just showed a film at the Marshall's Museum in conjunction with Fort Kids. So they were having a basket weaving class. Mm-hmm. And so it happened that the person who was doing the basket weaving from the Cherokee Nation, she was in a cartoon that we had teaching kids the Cherokee language. Oh. And she was one of the characters in the cartoon. So it's kind of fun how those little things will come together. And so what I try to do is I try to work with other nonprofits and say, hey, you have an event. How can film be added on to your event to kind of add a little thing? We're doing we've been doing every year Black History Month events with the Round Table, who have the Golden Knights and Jewels. And
that's kind of a Mayor McGill project, right?
Yeah. And so he started that. And so they bring in like 100 kids from these elementary schools. We show them a good time. So we kind of have like a daytime thing with them. We showed them some Black History cartoons. We do some program with them. And then that evening, we've had some stuff where we've done stuff with Black businesses. We're going to try to have some panels this year and then, show a movie. So, and then in that event, I think we're working with NAACP, we're working with kids, we're working with the Jaffe History Museum. So it's great to have events where you have 2 to 4 other nonprofits kind of working together. Yeah. And so I just see that we can add things to other people's, what they have going on. Like with Main Street, they had the Ghouls on Garrison. They had a group of kids from Southside High School. They wanted to show Coco, and they wanted to, give popcorn out and do a little fundraiser. So we worked with them, showed it in the Pocket Park. We used, that was a great thing, is it's schools working together, right? Mm-hmm. So we used our licensing from Future School, which allowed us to let this organization from Southside show their film. So it's great, just kind of how everyone loves to work together around here.
And how often do these events happen?
We do stuff every month, pretty much. That is one of the things, instead of just having the one big film festival every year, trying to have things to where we can educate, filmmakers Another thing that we're doing right now is we're putting on a statewide commercial contest with Keep Arkansas Beautiful. So it's a contest all across the state. We're running it through the film festival. Students can make a 30-second commercial, and the winner gets to go on TV. But along with that, we're going to try to put together some workshops to teach the students in our area how to make a commercial. So we're trying to do some ties in with, with some of the programming and some of the different contests that we have.
So it seems like you have a big emphasis on education, like educational type programming.
So the whole thing is like, if we're going to have any future in film, we have to train, filmmakers. And what I try to tell people all the time is if we can give students like filmmaking skills, because when I was growing up, I'd have 2 VCRs, a CD player, and have really good pause skills on the VCR for my cuts. They now are walking around with an entire production studio in their pocket.
Yeah.
And so what I try to tell kids and teach kids, like if you can learn how to make a social media 30-second commercial, if you can learn how to make reels, if you can learn how to do these things, you can leave high school with skills that will give you a job. And so that's one of the things that we're going to try to kind of push a little bit more is because a lot of the photography and video programs in Arkansas, unfortunately, have been cut. And so like we donated a lighting set to the film club at Future School. So we're trying to find ways that we can help teach students because, well, if I want to keep my industry going, I got to train the people from the very bottom up. And then also we want to have a lot of workshops and things for the filmmakers that are here to try to take them to the next level. So that's why we added in the Mid-America Film Market.
Talk to me about that because this is relatively new. You started this up, correct? Yeah. So it's been in its first year. Tell me about the mission, the vision that you have for this market. What's its purpose? What kind of films are being, I don't even know the right word here, being sold? Is that right? Or being...
Yeah. So the idea behind...
Educate me here.
Okay, there you go. Well, the idea behind the Mid-America Film Market is that I have to have an even bigger vision, or instead of just River Valley, I have to expand out. So the idea is to grow our film market, the creative economy in this area, so that if a filmmaker can make money on a film that they make, guess what? They can make another film. But when they're making films and they're paying people, it's not just the actors and directors are getting paid, right? So if you have a hairdresser on set, guess what? They probably have a salon. If you have a caterer on set, they have a restaurant. If you have someone who's doing construction or electric, they may have a construction company. So film helps small businesses. And so, it's getting that idea that the more that we can do, we can grow that creative economy, which expands out. It reverberates out, right? And so, and bringing in the market is trying to bring in some opportunities where filmmakers can come in and get their film sold. So last year we had one film that was signed at the market, and there's several others that are in talks right now. And so if we start putting those dollars into people's, then instead of a hobby, it can become like an actual job. And so we have a crew base in Arkansas that's kind of having hot from job to job. If we can start making things like that are more regular. And people, even if they're still just paying a little bit for certain things, that is like an economy that, can really boost a small city. So like if we're eventually have a crew and stuff, even a small, like say a TV show comes here to shoot in Fort Smith.
Which would be very cool.
Yeah. So a television series puts on average $50,000 to $150,000 a day into the local economy.
Wow, that's huge.
And then if you start doing bigger films, and like a bigger film comes to town and shoots here, you're looking at $250,000 plus a day that they're bringing into the local economy, right? And so we have to have a basis to build that. So when I talk about my vision's a little bigger when it comes to the Mid-America Film Market, and the reason why I say Mid-America is because I'm looking at a 6-hour radius around Fort Smith, from Oklahoma City to Wichita to Kansas City, across to St. Louis, Memphis, Jackson, Mississippi, Shreveport, Dallas. So in order to have enough films kind of bring in. So I'm working with all those. So when you talked about our report on all the
on the film festival
and all the people that we brought in on the first year in the Mid-America Film Market, our biggest increases came from Memphis, they came from St. Louis, they came from Oklahoma City, because I am pushing the market to those to bring their films in here. And now what we're doing is, if we have this whole force of people in that 6-hour radius, because you have to think about that 6-hour radius of filmmakers compared to just the city of LA, we probably have less, if you want to compete, right? You have to think in a bigger region. And so what's great is trying to build that here in Fort Smith, because we're a hub. Fort Smith is a hub. I mean, you look at it.
Geographically, we're very well positioned.
Yeah, exactly. And so, so take advantage of our location and then play off of the hub of Fort Smith is to the entire nation.
So can you explain for me, and also for those listeners who may not know, how a film festival and a market works? Can you explain that to us?
Yeah. Well, so a film festival. So right now we're in the submission phase. So a lot of people just see the film festivals, what happens on those couple days in August. It started for us last week. So we get submissions in from January all the way until May. And so we have gotten 1,754 submissions in the first 4 years from over 80 different countries. And so far in the first 5 days, we've already gotten over 70 submissions in.
Oh, wow.
And so if you want to be a part of the film festival, you can be a part of it right now.
How can somebody do that?
So all you have to do is, if you love watching movies, you can become a screener. So as these films come in, we have to have every film watched by 3 different people. So people are like, well, but I don't. Here's the thing. I want everyone's opinion. That's why I have 3 different people watch it.
Yeah.
Have watch the films. Basically, all you're doing is you're watching a film, you're giving it a thumbs up, thumbs down, 1 to 10 rating. You're letting me know what category it is.
Do you have to be familiar with filmmaking, or can it be literally anybody?
It can be anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, we have so many films that are coming. So to give you an idea, like, if we get 100 hours, like last year we had 541 films come in.
Wow.
That's 1,700 watches that have to happen, right? And so I need all eyes. I need as many eyes as I can get, to watch. I mean, I'm crazy. I watched 444 of them last year.
Yeah.
But so the film festival starts right now when the films start coming in. And what's great is you're getting to see films come in from all over the world. Like, we've already gotten films in from Ukraine, Botswana, Panama, Belarus, China,
wow. And how do they submit? Where do they go?
They go to sportsmanfilm.com, and then we have a Film Freeway. It's basically the Facebook of films. So the filmmakers submit through that through Film Freeway, and that's how we get our films from all over the world. So I'm using the same system that Sundance is using and the other major film festivals are using. They use this system in order to onboard the films. So what happens, we get all the films in, we pick from that group of films of what films are going to be in the festival. And that's based off of time. People are like, how many are you going to pick? It's literally, we're limited by how many hours there are in a day and what I can show and how many screens that we have. And so in picking the films, you have to actually put your entire schedule together. So that makes the picking process. That makes so when that process happens, we dig ourselves in a hole and you don't see us for
I imagine
about a week or week and a half. And then once you have the films, then we have judges and we have people who are professionals. So we so like to give you an idea of the films that we get that come in. So we have for course feature films, we have short films, and then you can do documentaries. And then we have animation and music videos. Music videos tend to be the most local films that we get in. We have 2 kind of categories that are that we've done from the very beginning that are kind of our premier categories. We have people of color and indigenous film. So like last year at the film festival, we highlighted 20 indigenous films, and we even got the first film ever made by the Quapaw Nation. So I went to them and talked to them and got them to bring their film here. So that's part of that process too, is sometimes, you make these connections with the studios and stuff. So we have studios that will send us stuff. So one of our connections, it was with Cisterna, Italy. So in 2021, when we first started, they have a film festival. So I went there to their film festival, and every year we have had connections to where they give us a code to get films from here into their festival. We give them a code, and then they help us judge the international films, and they'll have a category that we judge with them. Mm-hmm. And so there's some film studios in the Cisterna area, because Cisterna is about 30 kilometers south of Rome. So there's actually some film studios in the area that we've now worked with. So like in just the first 5 days, we've already gotten 7 films in from Italy.
Wow.
So, it's
this truly is an international film festival.
Yeah. Like last year, I was working with a film studio out of Chiapas, Mexico. Mm-hmm. They sent us I think almost 8 films. And then we've had studios, we had an animation studio that found us in Australia, and all their students are sending us their animation and some really cool animation. We have a local doctor, one of his friends actually runs the Dominican Republic Film Festival. And so we've gotten films from the Dominican Republic because of a connection from a Fort Smith resident who was going there. And he messaged me, hey, my friend is running the film festival in the Dominican Republic. And they got in contact with them. And so we got some films from them.
It's super relational, huh?
Yeah.
Very much about building relationships, building connections.
Yeah. And what's fun is building those connections all around the world.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, one of the other studies that, they'll do your meltwater study. And in the first 4 years, we've had 1.9 billion media reach. Mm. And that's why that happens, is because we have, so what I do is when I work with these other studios, I have them promote our film festival in their area. So so a lot of times, when someone has a festival, they do an event in Fort Smith, it may reach, kind of regionally to Dallas, Oklahoma City, and all that. But when I'm doing my marketing is all over the world.
Yeah.
And so we're sending out press releases. I sent out press releases to, I think we translate them into 20 different languages last year. And so that's kind of that difference. So that's that. So those are the kind of films that we bring in. So as a person, they're like, well, what's a film festival, right? What is the whole idea of coming?
How does this work?
How does this work, right? Well, it's about, do you like movies? Mm. And so basically it's kind of like take your streaming experience and do it in real life.
Okay.
So we'll have, so last year we showed around 200 films.
So hold on. Okay. So you screen the films.
Yeah.
The screeners say thumbs up, thumbs down, 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
You take how many of the top?
So it's dependent on hours.
It's dependent on hours. Okay.
And then we put our schedule together.
You put your schedule together. And then at the festival, that's what's viewed.
Yeah.
In this live kind of
and you can go
experience.
And it's create your own adventure. But instead of sitting at home, or on your phone, you can go actually sit in a theater and watch it. But the best part about a film festival is you're hanging out with all the actors, the directors, the producers. Have you ever watched something and go, why'd you do that? Or, oh, that was great, I wish I could tell them? You get to do that at a film festival. You get to have that access. So not only are you getting to pick films, and we have, you name a kind of film and we're showing it.
So typically all of the filmmakers attend.
Yeah, so we've had especially regional.
That's so cool.
We actually had a filmmaker come in from Japan last year.
Yeah.
And then we had another one that came in from Ireland. And so we're starting to get some of the international filmmakers, coming to our festival. And and that's part of the great experience is the filmmakers get together. And so the beautiful thing for filmmakers is they get to network. And I always like to say, in the back room of our filmmaker lounge is where baby movies are born. Because people are having this conversation.
In the back room.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Baby movies are made back there.
Yeah, baby movies. Because someone's like, oh, hey, I do this, or I have this idea.
Oh,
and
let's
what's great
together.
is, they work together and they go and they collaborate and they make a film. And so we've got all these little baby films. And then we have our alum. So we've had filmmakers who've been with us since the first festival.
Okay.
And I have an entire section for alum. I try to take care of them because I look at that is that's our filmmaking community. I wanted to grow that community. And so I have people who give us films every year, and I get to watch them grow up as filmmakers. I get to watch them going from making short films to feature-length films. And or even if they're just still doing short films, you get to watch them get better.
Yeah.
You get to watch them, you learn new techniques, and when more and more people start doing that around here, that is growing what I call our crew base. So we have more and more people who are getting experience working on films, even if it's just someone who's doing a fun little film, a little 10-minute short. But you're getting that experience, you're doing it, you're telling stories. It's about telling stories, and it's about telling local stories, right? And so we have a lot of that. We get to show off what our region is. And that's what I tell people. That's one of my biggest sells with the Mid-America film market is there's those markets on the east, on all the coasts. You got the West Coast, you got Berlin, you got Cannes, you got all these places. But we have stories here in the middle of the United States that you're not going to find anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like last year we had, it was about how called butterfly people. So when they had the tornado in Joplin that wiped out the city, all these kids and people reported seeing butterfly people rescuing them. They did a documentary on the butterfly people.
Wow.
You're not going to find a story like that anywhere else. We have all these movies from the Cherokee Nation, learning about, their language, or we have several films about stickball. So we have these films that you're not going to find anywhere else in the world in our region, and we get to tell those stories. But then I get to bring in people's local stories from around the world. And so it's that kind of combination because we're shining a spotlight on Fort Smith internationally, and we're bringing people in. So these people that now know who we are looking at what we're doing, but we're getting to see their lives, what their lives are like. Because we've had one filmmaker, she has made her first film was sent 2 weeks after the Ukraine war started.
I saw that film.
Yeah.
I came to the bakery district.
Yeah.
And I saw that film.
Yeah. And then she has done films even throughout the war. And so with our alum, I start following them, I start communicating with them, on Instagram and other socials. And so you get to see their lives.
It is really cool because I've been to a couple of the bakery district movie nights that you had. I haven't been able to come in a long time. But the one that stood out to me the most was when you showed the shorts. I think it was the shorts. And it was the Ukrainian movie, the Ukrainian film. And then there was another one that I found so interesting. It was I can't remember where they were, what country it was from. You'll probably remember when I tell you. They paired a young person with an elderly person to live together and to cohabitate. It was like a part of a program. Do you know the one?
So that was a comedy.
Okay, yeah,
and that comedy actually came out of Oklahoma.
Okay.
And so that one was assisted living. And so the whole premise behind that is this guy, his roommates kick him out of his room and he's about to move back in with his parents. And his parents are like, oh, we've already turned your room into an office, but here's this program that if you go and live at an assisted living place with a thing. And so it was a comedy about,
it was so great.
And that's one of those local kind of funny stories. And what's great is those filmmakers, we've gotten several other films from those filmmakers. And so you start to, because you see this on the top level too. You'll see like Adam Sandler and all these people. They'll work with all their friends, and you see the same people in the same films they do all the time. You see the same thing on the lower level.
Yeah.
So these people have their friends, their actors. So maybe I'm acting in this one, I'm directing in this one, but then you start seeing the same actor faces in different films and stuff like that. And it's just a beautiful thing to kind of watch. People grow up on all levels of films, from directing to acting.
The other one that I just thought was just brilliant was it was an indigenous film where they were pretending, or they were tricking people. Oh my gosh, I can't remember.
I think the one you're talking about is the pipeline.
Yes, into the oil pipeline or whatever.
Yeah, so that one came out of Canada.
Oh my gosh, Brandon. It was brilliant.
Oh yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So, so that's those connections. So those filmmakers, they've sent us other stuff. So we actually have we have a loan from Canada now, like people that we'll talk to. They're like, oh, when is the film festival coming? And they're like, I'm working to get them here they, sometimes getting travel stuff and getting people here. And that's kind of the thing that we're working on. And that's some of the things I do for my fundraising is to create opportunities to house. And eventually I'd like to be able to fly in some people. But right now, the Fort Smith is a giving community. And what that does is that allows me, when a filmmaker, what we try to do is when people are traveling, we try to at least give them some housing.
Yeah.
While they're here, you put them up in a hotel. And by those brilliant stories that are just coming in around and they're just, and what's great is those relationships that you make with those filmmakers, and you see these great things. You can't wait to see the next thing that they're making.
Do you tend to get a lot of resubmissions year after year from the same?
So as I said, we actually have an alumni program.
Yeah.
So they're actually the first people we reach out to. So we actually give them a code and going, here, you're an alum, you get to do a free submission. That's kind of how we keep our alum going. And then we do later on, we'll do a friend of an alum. So guess what? Filmmakers know other filmmakers.
Yeah.
And so here's something for you as an alum to give to one of your friends so that they can submit.
That's great.
And so that's that growing part of it.
So what's the cost to submit?
So it goes up. So I think the cheapest right now is around $10, but every deadline, so from now until May, you have deadlines. And with every deadline,
and then it increases
the cost goes up with each deadline.
And so how does the market come into play at the festival?
So what I'm doing this year, so it's a learning process. So like the first year of the film festival, I learned that people don't want to walk around during August. And I'm still figuring out the best way to do the market for what we have in this region. And so one of the things that I'm looking at doing is we're looking at trying to get some distributors in, because last year, the distribution that we did was primarily feature.
Okay.
But the majority of the filmmakers around here are doing short films. And there are streaming services now that are picking up and are buying short films because that's just people's attention span.
Well, yeah, and short form is king right now across the board.
Yeah. And we're looking at, our average probably film length is probably around 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And so like if you're a screener, and that's what a lot of people think, I was like, I don't think I have time for that. I was like, the majority of our films are 15 minutes long, so they're short films. The majority of the films that we get in are short films. And so I'm trying to build a marketplace around, I'm not trying to force one onto this region. I'm going to look at the region and looking at what they're needing. So like one of the things too is teaching them. So one of the people that we work with, Sergeant Major Keith Craig, he's just written a book on distribution. And so I'm going to try to do some workshops around his book, because what he's talking about is coming at it from a distribution mindset, right? And so when you're making a film, some people are like, just make the film. And they only think about, pre-production, production, and post-production. They don't think about branding their films. They don't think about marketing their films. They don't think about the distribution process.
Yeah.
And there's things that you can do in your film that will mess up your ability to do the distribution. And so it's thinking in that full mindset. And that's that change, right? That change over from doing filmmaking as a hobby to doing it professionally, right? And is that changing that mindset? So that's one of the things too, is kind of moving that mindset, because we have exhibitions where there's 18 film festivals all across Arkansas. So I just put together
18 in Arkansas.
Yeah, I just put together a meeting with all the organizers, and so I'm trying to work with them where we can start trying to coordinate and know what each other's doing, and even just know who we are, right? And so people can get their film shown. If you want to get your film, if you're making something in this region, there's a chance you can get shown one of those 18.
Yeah.
But what's going to make us different is that ability to sell your film, or have some access with some people who are going to teach you some skills so that you're doing things in a professional manner, right? So maybe because getting a film done, one of the best things someone ever told me is every film doesn't want to be made. And so getting a film across the finish line is an amazing feat. Even for a short film that someone's doing locally, it doesn't have to be the best quality. You did it. You got it done. I want to show you off, in what you've done. Now that you've done that, let's take that to that next step, right? So, here's how to do it on a more professional way, and to do it in ways that you can sell it.
Seems like you have a big vision for education, skill building, like longevity, building something that's going to be sustainable over time, and that younger people step up and then they train the younger people below them, and then it keeps going and going and going.
That's the dream, right?
You're living the dream.
Living something.
So let's talk about you for a little bit. Like, we've talked about the film festival and the Mid-America market, but what about you? Are you still making films? If so?
Well, I mean, I have, so as I said, every film doesn't want to be made. So I have one that's been in the can for several years that I need to get some post on. So I got a really great opportunity this year that's allowing me to kind of, so I stepped in and started doing all the film festival stuff, and that really, trying to get all that running, I lost all my ability to do my personal stuff.
It's just with time, you know,
because it's such a huge beast. I got the Artist 360 Community Impact Grant. And so that grant, and it's unrestricted funds, which they haven't done before. And
congratulations.
I appreciate it. And so what they told us that we can do with that is they said, for some people, buy your time. So like what I try to do to supplement myself on the side is I do gig work. Everything from writing state of the city addresses for the mayor of Greenwood to making commercials for cities and businesses. So I do gig stuff that sustains me on the side because the film festival is a nonprofit. And so as I always tell people, my interns make more money than I do, but that's the way it should be, right? And so I'm trying to, keep that going. And so with that grant, I'm actually able to kind of work on a few other things that I've kind of had sitting there. I mean, I had the one film, it's called The Western District. So so in 2018, I ran the play for 2 years. So I wrote and produced the play in 2018. I wrote a book with it. It has its own beer. It has its own wine. The Rialto restaurant was named after it. And then I was working on the documentary. So it's, so it was a big project. I'm continuing that project now too. So even getting away from film, because one of my background, my undergraduate is in playwriting and acting. So I've acted in over 70 to 80 roles. So I'm an actor. I've done playwriting. So I'm actually doing a little playwriting right now too.
There it is. That's what I was looking for. I'm like, what are you working on? I gotta know.
So I'm taking the play that I did, because the original version was 2 hours and 15 minutes. And then the second year that I ran it, I cut it down to 1 hour and 45. Now I'm putting together a 30 to 45 minute version of it. And my thinking behind that is, now that we have the Marshals Museum, we have the Marshals Museum, people come here, they see that, they go to the National Park, they go to the History Museum, and they may go to a restaurant, but no one is really doing anything to entertain them based off of what they have just seen. So what I'm kind of working off of is kind of a Branson model. So I'm going to create a 30 to 45 minute version of the play that can be seen, so maybe bus tours or different tours can book in advance, but maybe to where the play runs on a regular basis during the season. And, we get the play that runs. So during the tourist season, we can have it running on a regular basis. And then that also generates actors in town, gives them some jobs, gives them things to do. And, I just trying to create some entertainment for the tourists in town, because the whole idea is to keep them here so they can stay like another day or two and give them some reasons to stay, right? And have some entertainment that's connected to all the things in Fort Smith that they've seen, right? To kind of have that, something that connects them to that. Yeah.
So you're not from Fort Smith originally, right? How did you get to Fort Smith?
Oh, goodness.
You're like, how much time do we have, Emily?
Well, I mean, so I was born in Arkansas.
Okay.
I was born in Forest City, but I pretty much grew up in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
It took me 4 colleges and 16 years to get my undergraduate. I ended up getting that at Arizona State. So I lived in the Tempe, the Phoenix area for about 7.5, 8 years. So I got my undergraduate and my master's there. And then I went and got my PhD at the University of Memphis. So believe it or not, my PhD is in political rhetoric. That's why I do like speech writing and stuff like that. I always tell people though, speech writing is the same as playwriting. You write the words, the actors get on stage, and then mess up the words that you wrote. So
that's funny.
So while I was working on my dissertation in Memphis, my grandpa was building my grandma a new house for her 80th birthday. And so they let me come in and stay on the 71 acres that they lived on for 48 years. And so it was me and my dog hanging out on the farm, writing my dissertation. So that's right down outside of Greenwood. So that kind of brought me into the area. And then I moved to Fort Smith in 2017. So right now I'm entering my 8th year of living here. So, it's been a heck of a journey.
It sounds like it. And so you've lived in all these different places. Why did you choose to settle in Fort Smith?
Well, as I said, so my grandparents gave me the spot.
Your family.
And then I was working. I was not planning on staying here. But the city of Fort Smith lets me play.
I mean,
literally, they let me do my play.
Yeah.
They supported that. The city got behind the show because it's about the history of Fort Smith that people didn't even know about. Then when I did the Film Society, people backed me on that. As I said, the first people to get on board was John McIntosh, who did Unexpected, and Stacey Jones, who did Season of Entertainment. So I had the backing, and people kind of got, so there's a lot of support here, right? And it allows you. So what's great about having come from other big towns, right? So like when I was in San Antonio, I was doing marketing. I took a club from number 57 to number 1 in the state of Texas. When I was in Phoenix, I was helping co-produce the number 1 experimental theater company in Phoenix, Arizona. So you got a town of 3 million, you got a town of 6 to 7 million. And then Memphis, you're dealing with 2 million people. So the amount of work. So when you're doing something in one of those big towns, you're doing something cool. You're one of like 20 people doing something cool.
That's true.
Here, you're one of a couple people that are trying to do something. And what's great is so you go and try to find support in one of those places, which I did find, but the amount of work that you have to do and all the things, and then to try to break through and, get your stuff going, especially think about Phoenix, you're a huge area there. And so here they let me play. You have the support. And one of the best things that a teacher that taught me, she was Ida Honegger. She was one of the major dramaturgs from Berlin, like major like dramaturgs. And one of her things was, if you do good work, it doesn't matter where you live, they will come to you. And that's what we've done with the Fort Smith International Film Festival. We do good work and the world comes here. So if you have the support, you have a place to make. And Fort Smith is wonderful about it. It's a wonderful community about helping make things happen. And you can, if you have a great idea and you're willing to put the work in, people here are pretty much willing to back you up and support you on it. And that's why I'm in Fort Smith.
Awesome. Brandon, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show today. Really, really, really appreciate it. Thanks for explaining how everything works to me. I feel like I'm like, all right, okay, I got this. And just thanks for all your work that you're doing in the community to build and to allow people the opportunity to showcase the work that they love and their stories.
Yeah.
So,
and when the other things that a director taught me once that I try to keep going with is, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. And so
Brandon Goldsmith, director of fun, right here in Fort Smith, guys. No, that's true. It's good. Well, thanks again, Brandon.
Thank you.